Hello, everybody. This is the professor coming to you with our master class, the Teaserking. We're going to talk about week 9 of college football. Just reviewing the line and the injuries just before I came on, so everything is fresh. We can walk down a few. Let's talk some injuries first, and then we can get to the games. Syracuse quarterback Granger is questionable, and here's where you don't know. You watch the line; they went from 4.5, Syracuse minus 4.5 to -6, so that would lead me to believe the quarterback's playing. Syracuse is a very good team this year, and they're playing extremely well. They played Clemson well. They came back strong against Virginia Tech next week, or last week. So they're playing really good ball, which is what you're looking for now. Teams that are gelling, getting better. Let's see. Indiana against Maryland. Both the quarterbacks are out for Indiana, Tuttle and Penix. So they're going with the third string quarterback there. Tagliabue might actually have a good game because the Indy's got kind of a weak defense, and when you lose your quarterbacks, the defense we can't win, so they don't play as hard as they should. They play hard for a while, and then it could get ugly. Illinois Rutgers, the Illinois quarterback's out. Sikowitz, the transfer from Rutgers, he's out. Peters, I think's been out. So again, these quarterbacks are out. Liberty quarterback's questionable. Malik. He hasn't been playing that well anyway, so he's obviously been injured because they've played like crap the last 2 weeks. Fortunately, they're playing UMass, so I could quarterback and beat them by 36. UCLA, now their quarterback, Thompson Robinson's been listed probable. So he's slightly injured. The line's 6.5, over under a 61. So the line's my line was 3 at first. He's there, but I'm assuming he's playing. So we'll see. If the spread jumps to 9, then he's obviously out and avoid it. But if it stays at 6, 6.5, 7, then we'll stay with we'll assume the quarterback's playing. What else? I think that's all the key injuries I saw. What do you do with the injuries? So when like Indianapolis or Indy and Maryland, so Indy's not going to score, obviously. They don't have a quarterback. Maryland laying 5.5 should score. They also have a weak defense. It's kind of like Seattle on Monday night without Russell Wilson. They're becoming an under team. They don't really have a quarterback. So what do? They run the ball. They still can do that and play defense, and they're playing. So these 2 games without Russell Wilson have been very low scoring. So that's what you do. The reason we watch the quarterbacks is the scoring and can they come back? Are they live dogs and all that? And that's what you're really looking for. So when the quarterback's injured, this is where the surprise, you assume the backup's not that good. And so you bet against the team or you bet the game under, depending on who they're playing. And that's the obvious, that's the smart way to play it is, well, they're not going to score. So what else can they do? And they're just going to run it and play defense and punt and, none of these stupid 4th down things. So the Illinois, that should be an under game anyway. They're both, Rutgers doesn't score a lot anyway, even with their quarterback. And if Illinois' quarterback's out, they're just going to run the ball. The over-under is 43. So then you go, oh, okay, I'll go with the under in the game. Liberty and UMass. Liberty's laying 36. So even if the quarterback plays, he's not healthy. I wouldn't know they'll cover 36 there. Excuse me. Utah, UCLA. Now, if the quarterback plays, I love the game over because Utah, where you think they're a defensive team, is really an offensive team. So you've got to keep that in mind that they're a pretty high-scoring team. We know UCLA is a very high-scoring team, and their defense is not, pretty weak. So that should be an over game if the quarterback plays. And again, he's listed as probable, so he's going to play a guy like that. He's a star and everything. I've added a new little thing on my analysis, which is to say, does the team have like weak defenses? Right. So what game am I showing you? So here, Navy and Tulsa. I'm saying both teams have weak defenses. Well, why am I doing that? Because I know if I get a good over team playing a weak defensive team, they're going to light it up. It helps with overs and unders. And it's usually any team that gives up 30 in college football has the weak defense. And the pros, I'll just call them a Z team because I know that they have a weak defense. So by saying Z, I automatically know it's a weak defensive team. So what do we got tomorrow? Today's Wednesday. Tomorrow we got a few games. Again, they stick these, the South Florida East Car game and a Troy Coastal Carolina game at us. Just it's really for added betting and TV. So you'll have something to watch and you'll bet on it. And Vegas wants the action. So that's why they've included these Thursday games and Friday games. It's insane. I don't really have a preference in those games. Coastal Carolina, they got the great quarterback. Troy's an under team, so they have a pretty good defense. So it's hard to, it's really hard to pick that game. Probably Coastal Carolina, but Troy might have a good defense, but pardon me, they might have a good defense, but not that strong. Let's go to the Navy-Tulsa game. Tulsa's laying 11.5, 47. As I showed you, both teams have weak defenses. I'm just scratching my head going, well, let's see. Navy just played two really strong teams pretty tight. I think they lost by 7, what was it, 2 weeks ago. And last week we know they played Cincinnati. So no, Memphis beat them 34-17. SMU, that's what it was. SMU beat them by 7, and then Cincinnati last week beats them by 7, 27-20. So they played SMU and Cincinnati, teams that are very good, and they only lost by 7. So here they get Tulsa, who's not that strong a team, and this is why I grade every team. So Tulsa I have as a W. They don't score a lot. They played Ohio State tough, but I guess they get up for certain games. But overall, they're not very good. They got a weak defense. Navy switched the quarterbacks to Lavati, and they seem to be playing very well. You scored 20 on Cincinnati. Notre Dame couldn't do that. So I think you're getting a bargain here at 11.5. I had Navy favored by 4 points in the game. You get in Tulsa 11.5. You get Navy in 17.5. Team that almost beat Cincinnati and played SMU extremely well. So I don't know. I'm that spread just seems way off. I can see maybe if Tulsa was 4 or 6 because they're at home, but 11.5. I don't see the injuries to Navy, but I'll take another look at that. But that looks like Navy in 17.5 looks very strong. I can't imagine that, but it's hard to go over on a Navy when they're going to run the ball and ball control it and eat the clock. So I can't really play it over. And they only, they played Cincinnati 27-20 and I think SMU 27-20. And they both have good offenses, so maybe Navy's defense is getting better. They sucked in the beginning, but with the new quarterback, they can rest their defense and play better. That's really the key to the running attack. Nevada laying 20 to Vegas. Nevada an A team. Vegas is a Z team. They switched quarterbacks. He's okay. He's nothing special. Over under 59. So I got A against Z, and I got Nevada off of a loss to Fresno State. And I love their quarterback Strong. He's very good, Nevada's. Vegas, weak defense. Nevada should light them up, should be pissed after the loss, needs the game to have any chance to win the conference because the Fresno State game, Fresno State's in the conference. So this I think should be a blowout just because how's Vegas going to stop them? And this strong guys, Fresno State's a much better team, and Nevada almost won the game. So I don't know. I just think Nevada, off of a loss at home, it's somewhat of a rivalry, but not really. But just because they're both in Nevada doesn't make it a rivalry. But, I think Nevada against – here's where I got the weak defense. I got a good quarterback, pissed that they lost against a weak defense, and that's where they should really light it up. Wisconsin, 3.5 over Iowa. Now we're on Saturday's game. So those two, Navy and Nevada, are Fridays. Wisconsin, 3.5 over Iowa. Really? Now, yeah, it should be an under, but the under is 37. I can't look at that. Well, dealing with college today, Andy, but Bengals, UCF's got their backup quarterback. I don't know. Is Temple that bad? I got Temple as a W team, UCF with the new quarterback. There's a lot better games I could give you than UCF. Bengals I like. Dallas at Mini's not terrible. Well, if Temple's really bad, what did they do last week? So I like looking to see if they're improving or not. I think they got beat. South Florida beat them by 20. And this game's at Temple. UCF's not. They're kind of a weak defensive team, and with the other quarterback, Mikey. So I don't know. If Dylan Gabriel was quarterback, I'd be all over it. But I don't know. I'm not crazy about. I just locked against UCF against Cincinnati. I had Cincinnati was my lock, and they beat them by 40. So Dallas +8. Yeah, I mean. It's okay. You don't know what you're getting with Minnesota. I mean, they could shut them out. They could give up 40. They've been playing unders until they played they lost to Cleveland like 14-7, and then they played that strange game against Detroit. And I don't know. Dallas is better than Minnesota. +8 probably is good. Cincinnati for sure, but I'm not sure. I would play the under in the Georgia game before I'd play UCF. If you can do over-unders for 10 points, I would strongly recommend Georgia under because I think half the pro teams wouldn't score 14 points on Georgia. So let's see, where was I? So Iowa, Wisconsin. So they're the over-under 37. That'll be a low-scoring game, but it's such a low under. It's hard to go under 43 in a teaser. I mean, 43 should be the bet, not the teaser bet. So that's a low number, but I like Iowa 9.5 there. Wisconsin, they just have a terrible quarterback. I was just looking at quarterback stats. He's got like 2 touchdowns and 7 picks. Granted, they played Penn State, Notre Dame, Michigan, yada, yada, yada. We know Illinois. They played good defensive teams, but they're playing Iowa here. So it's not like he's going to light up Iowa. He didn't even light up Purdue, who's an okay team. Iowa 9, yeah, absolutely. I think Iowa could win the game very easily, but Iowa's a strong dog, strong defense. They're the A team here. Wisconsin is just, all the big games they've been losing. They beat Purdue, who had beaten Iowa, and they beat Illinois, but basically that's it. And then I think some MAC team. But Wisconsin doesn't scare me, and Iowa's defense will keep you in the game here. So, yeah, Iowa's a very live dog here. Normally, this would be an automatic under if this was 44, 45, and I'd go under 50. That might even be a lock, but 37 to go under. You almost want to go over 31, but it's hard with these defenses. But it's definitely tease the dog game, especially when the dog is the A team, not the U team. Buffalo Bowling Green, my Buffalo team. They're finally starting to play. They finally blew out a Z team, Akron, last week. So maybe they found it. Bowling Green's also a Z team. You always get them mixed up between Bowling Green and Ball State and some of the MAC teams. But Bowling Green is a Z team. So Buffalo should handle them. I'm still not ready to bet Buffalo after the Nebraska game. And then they played Coastal Carolina strong. But yeah, I mean, this is the ideal situation. The team's struggling with the quarterback's fine, but I think all the receivers were hurt. They're just not getting productivity from the receivers. And but I think last week they finally woke up. They finally killed Akron, and then I see it here. They should kill Bowling Green. They're at home. They've had a bad season, and I think they're going to be pissed off about it. Wake Forest, 16.5 over Duke. Over under a 70 here. Whew. Duke, offensive team, terrible defense. Even Kansas lit them up for 30 points. I think Duke won that game like 50-30. I had Duke minus 10. I got the W, but I had to sweat that as their defense was terrible. Wake Forest puts up 70 on my Army team. That's unbelievable. They can score. I love their quarterback, Hartman. Very good statistics. Lane 16.5. Wake Forest is, I believe, undefeated in the ACC. I know in conference they are, but I think they're undefeated for the whole thing. So they must win to chance for the playoff, or at least to win the ACC. And you're playing a Duke team with a weak defense. This is not the rivalry. North Carolina Duke is the rivalry, not Wake Forest. Even though they're both in North Carolina, this isn't a rivalry game per se. So I like Wake Forest laying 10.5 here. I think they blow out Duke. Duke's got a weak defense. Their offense is okay, but Wake Forest had a pretty good defense until Army, I guess they can't stop the run. I don't really know how Army scored all those, but if you score 70 on Army, you got a good, serious offense. So I think 10.5 at home. I have no inclination to take Duke in 22.5. I'll get back. I'm at work. I'll rewind. Okay, Andy, no problem. Always have a reason for your bet. So why do you like UCF? You're betting against Temple. Okay, I understand that. But is that the best game on the board? And I think we got better games to see. That's the whole thing. You're betting. Is that the best game to bet on? And I just and UCF, Temple's terrible, but you got UCF's backup quarterback in, and I don't know. I mean, Temple, they should blow them out, but I'm not comfortable with UCF right now. I mean, I'm not taking them. So I like Wake Forest, blow out Duke. Michigan State, Michigan. Michigan's lane 4. I had them lane 3. Went up to 4.5, back to 4. Over under is going down. It was 52, is now 50. You got two A teams. So forget the names. A team versus A team. You take the home dog. I mean, that's the simplest way to do it. I think the game's dead even. I like State's quarterbacks fine. They got good receivers. They got a great running back, good defense. Michigan is just running the ball. So if you can stop the run and make them pass, you should do all right. Although we watched the Wisconsin, you got to take the Wisconsin and the Nebraska games for Michigan, and you go, Wisconsin, they kind of took it on at the end. The Nebraska game was, they kicked the field goal to win 32-29. And I think that's more what you get here. I think you get I don't know that it's an under. I thought Michigan was an under, but I'm not really like when I bet Iowa, Wisconsin, I know I'm betting the under, and the under I know will come in. Here, I don't trust that this is an under. I think Michigan State's going to pull out a lot of stops. I think Michigan will do some, passing plays. So I think this probably will be more high scoring than low scoring. Michigan will run the ball, but they run it pretty good. And they obviously against Nebraska, I take the Nebraska game. It was 32-29. Nebraska jumped on them. They came back. So I think this will be an extremely close game. I'd say probably, I would say maybe 31-28. something like 34-31, and I like the dog, and there's no reason Michigan State can't win this game. So when you get the game dead even with two A teams, which means good offense, good defense, pick the game with no points. Would you think Michigan's going to win by 14? If you don't think they're going to win by 14 without points, just going, that's the final, they're going to blow them out, they're much better, you got to take the dog then. And that's what we've been doing. This is like UCLA, Oregon, right? You made UCLA the favorite. Oregon's better, and Oregon gets the win. And I think here you've got this game dead even, and I'm getting 10 points with the home dog in college. I love it. I think that's a very strong play, Michigan State there. Louisville, North Carolina State. Louisville, running quarterback Cunningham against NC State, very strong, normal type of quarterback. I don't know what to call it. He's just straight back and he fires. He doesn't run that much. Leary. NC State I had a -6, -7, 56.5. It could get over, I would think, although the overs dropped from 60 to 56. I like North Carolina State. They lost to Miami. But I think right there, laying one, Louisville's they have a weak defense. It's not a 30-point, it's a 28. They're an over team. So they probably score 29 and give up 29. I just didn't call it a weak defense because they weren't 30. But Louisville, I just don't think their defense is good enough. And NC State at home off the loss and a must win for them. I think NC State's a good play here. They're a very strong team, very solid team, NC State. BC and Syracuse. Syracuse minus, it was 4.5, went to 6, means the quarterback is playing. He's been good. I think his name's Granger. Over under a 50. Both teams I have as B teams. Again, BC's got their backup quarterback in the whole year. Jerkovich from Notre Dame got injured. He's been out, broke his wrist or something. The new guy's coming in. Not too bad. They've been surviving. I think Syracuse is a much better team in this game. And they've been playing. That's why I'm saying the last few weeks they should have beat Clemson 17-14. The kid misses a field goal to tie it at the end. So they played Clemson tough, who's a lot better than BC, even without their quarterback. And then last week against Virginia Tech, who's a very tough team, good defense, they lit them up. So I like Syracuse here like I like NC State. I think you got them even at home, and their teams are playing well. Let's see. Iowa State, West Virginia. I don't know. I don't really have anything. Over under 48. Iowa State laying 7. Iowa State's missed Montgomery all year, and they never really replaced them. So their running back is, Brock Purdy's a good quarterback, but he needs a running back. They need the balance. They've been playing well. West Virginia, I don't know. They haven't shown up. They're not that bad of a team, but I like Dogie, the quarterback, but they're not playing well. Do you trust Iowa State on the road to win at West Virginia? I don't. Like I say, I think West Virginia can keep this game close. Over under 48. I think it's probably more of an under. Both teams have good defenses, so I can see. It should be similar. What was the Iowa State game last week? I had they played Oak State. I locked Oak State in the 7. I had 13. And it was 24-21. So they scored 24 on a really good Oak State defense, and they gave up 21. And what do we got? West Virginia. They beat TCU 29-17. That's an impressive win at TCU. Yeah, so I think West Virginia, off of what happened last week, I think West Virginia in 13 will keep the game close. The over-under, maybe an under there, 48, under 54, I think would be the play if you're that. But here's where I've got so many better games, it's hard to get involved with this one. But, being the Teaser King and the professor, I'm giving you whatever I think. Maryland 5.5 was 3 over Indy with 2 quarterbacks out. So not only is Penix out, but Tuttle's out, and terrible defense on both sides. Maryland with Tagliabue, I think, finally lights it up because he finally has a team he can light it up against. Indiana, I don't know how they're going to score. Maryland at home. Maryland should win this game by 20, I would think. Over under 49. You can't play over with two quarterbacks of Indy out. They probably won't score much. I think Maryland finds a way to score, 28-10 or something like that. Maybe they have a big game because, again, they're finally playing. When you play Ohio State and you play Iowa, you're playing super strong defenses. So now you get a weak defense and your eyes light up going, wow, the guys aren't covering us and blitzing me every time like Ohio State and Iowa did. And I think he'll have a field day seeing this defense. Florida Atlantic 10.5 over UTEP. Real quick, I like UTEP. UTEP is very I look at the standings, right? So when I started looking at the standings, I started seeing UTEP, who I don't think's anything, and they're like undefeated in the conference, and I'm going, shit. So they have a chance. Florida Atlantic is winning their side of the conference. I just find that spread's awfully high, 10.5. UTEP's got the good running back. I would think UTEP can keep the game close, but again, it's not my favorite. Now we're getting to my favorite. Pittsburgh, I have 14 over Miami, was 10, went down to 9. Miami changed quarterbacks to Van Dyke. Guy looks really good, looked really strong against NC State. I thought they were going to be terrible. They're on their third string quarterback. I lock NC State. I get lucky to win that. It was at the end, I was winning it all the whole way. They were down by 1, and I had 2.5 or 3. But so I was in a good number. But basically, Pitt here just beat Clemson pretty bad. And I don't really like Miami as a dog in this game getting 15, but I do like Miami scoring and has a weak defense. It's beautiful. This guy – Pickett he's like 27-3 or something, touchdown to interception. They're averaging in the 40s a game. They got a good defense. Again, they beat Clemson with no offense, 27-17 with that quarterback. This Van Dyke, if Clemson had Van Dyke, they'd be in the playoff. This guy's from what I watched, he was very strong. So here's what I kind of warn you about is the change in quarterbacks, right? Why does the Z team all of a sudden win? Because they switch quarterbacks and the guy gets it and he's lighting it up and you're looking at the coach like, what the hell are you doing? Yeah, this guy, you had Van Dyke on the bench, you're starting king, and then you go to your second stringer. You finally get to Van Dyke, and if this guy was starting the whole year, they'd be undefeated. This guy is unbelievable. So, for Miami to beat NC State, but 31-30. So the score 31 on NC State. Their defense is very strong. What do I got on? I got NC State as an A team. Their defense is about in the low 20s or high teens, and Pitt's the same. They're also an A. But as you can see, Clemson got set. They're not a Clemson or a Georgia defense. They're good, but not wonderful. So I see Pitt lighting this game up, putting up at least in the 30s, and I see this Van Dyke matching them stride for stride. I'm going to say 48-40 for this game, Pitt, and the over-under is only 61. All I got to do is go over 55. 55 is 30-27 is 57. There is no way in the world these teams do not get to 30 unless there's a hurricane or something, weather permitting. If weather's fine, there's no way this game only hits 60. This game will be easily in the 70s. So this is the game, Andy, you bet instead of the UCF is you take this game over 51, and that's a joke. That could be the halftime score where they're both be in the 20s. It wouldn't surprise me. But this Van Dyke looks like a real strong quarterback. They'll score. They still don't have a defense. And we know Pickett can light it up, and he'll have a big day. Do you like Iowa? Yeah, I like Iowa in 13. Yeah, that's what I said. Iowa 9.5 I like, so tease the dog there. But get off UCF and get onto this Pitt game. Like I say, you see a new quarterback and he lights it up against a good team, NC State. He'll light it up against a good Pitt team. Rutgers, Illinois, the quarterback's out for Illinois, Sitkowski. I think Peters was out, so I don't know what they got. They got a real strong defense. They beat Penn State somehow. See, I don't know. I mean, Clifford played, and then they still I don't know if I don't like these overtime rules at all. Do it like the NFL. Give the team the ball. If they score, great. Otherwise, the other team, you can't change the game. The game is made to be kicked off. You take it at your own 25. You march down the field. If you can do that and score, you should win. Not, well, we're going to give you the ball at the 2-yard line. What the hell is that? I don't understand this need to make quick ending. You played 60 minutes. Keep playing the same game. You can't change the games. That's the point. You don't. It's so stupid. So it makes it sound like, oh, they played 9 overtimes. Big deal. They had the ball at the 2-yard line and they make a play and they get stopped because it's sort of like it's one play, do or die. And, so it finally took them 9 tries to get the 2-point conversion. So I don't know what's wrong with Penn State. So it's a good victory for Illinois. But again, their quarterback's out and the strong defense. I look at this game under. It's 43. Neither team can score. So you can go under 49 all day. This game, it'd be low 20s maybe. Maybe. I struggle to get to 17, I think. Minnesota, Northwestern, I don't know who Minnesota is. They're a B team, laying 7.5, 43. They should win. They need the game for the conference, right? To win the whatever Big Ten West or South or North, whatever the other than Ohio State side is. Northwestern's lousy. Minnesota should get the win here, only laying 1.5. Brett, can't figure out Nebraska. They always seem to find a way to lose. You think Nebraska wins on the money line against Purdue? Let me ask you this question. Why? Why are you looking at Nebraska? Unless you're, if you're a Nebraska fan, I understand it, but why would you look at this game? Who knows what, I like the coach. I love Crouch. He should have never left UCF. They kept going undefeated there. So I don't know. I mean, he goes undefeated. He beats Auburn, who was a good team. He gets to the Big Ten, and there's Ohio State and Michigan and teams. I am in a pick'em league. Oh, well, then tell me that. Okay. And so that's your game. You have to pick it. So that's the game they're giving you. You don't have an option. It'll be a tight game. Purdue won at Iowa and then, had a struggle with Wisconsin. It wouldn't surprise me if BYU, this is one, you got the 20, you're the 29 game guy. Okay. I don't know. My spread was Nebraska laying 3. I think this will be a real close game, but I guess if you need to pick it, I guess Nebraska, but I wouldn't have a lot of faith. I'd mark it really low, but it wouldn't surprise me if Purdue pulls the upset here. I don't even know if it's an upset, but I guess Nebraska at home. I like Martinez a little bit better, but Purdue showed you what they can do at Iowa, so it's a tight one. This will be a 2-point game. So if I have to, I guess I'd take Nebraska at home, but I would never tease it -1.5. The only teaser I would make in this game would be Purdue in 13.5, but that's not even on my radar. I got way too many games for this, but I guess I would take that. But okay, back to where I was. So, here's a strange one. Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech -4, over under 55.5. My line was Virginia Tech -6. Virginia Tech's the better team here, but they're struggling lately. In Georgia Tech, I don't see quarterback injured. I'll mark that down unless it's something that happened later. But the spread, I think, went from 3.5 to 4. I like Virginia Tech in 10 here. but again, not strong. But that's a weird spread. Georgia Tech's like Nebraska. You don't know what you're going to get, so it's a hard game. So you kind of you can make mental notes on Georgia Tech, but you can't really bet it because you don't know which Georgia Tech team. Just like you don't know which Nebraska Purdue team you're going to get. Okay, this game I like. Clemson, I had -10 is -9. Over under 47.5. Guess which way the professor likes it. Again, I love the under. Clemson, I've won every game with Georgia under, Clemson under. 47.5. They go under 53.5. Florida State with the running quarterback. Clemson's got too much speed. He's not going to do anything. They need Mackenzie Milton in the game, but he hasn't played in a few weeks. So I'm looking at this game definitely being under. You can't trust Clemson to win because their quarterback's horrible. Again, why is he sticking with the quarterback? He needs to trade this quarterback for Van Dyke on Miami, and then he wouldn't lose again. So I don't know. I hate their quarterback. They won't score a lot of points. Florida State won't score a lot because Clemson's defense is too fast for Florida State's offense. So 47.5, go under 53.5. Liberty Mass, Liberty laying 36. I had them laying 28. The quarterback's questionable. Malik, Mass, terrible team. Over under 57. With the quarterback question, but the quarterback plays, Liberty should kill them. Even Florida State killed them last week, like 59-3. This would be a very good game. So, keep an eye on him. I'm sure he'll want to play to pad his stats, but I think Liberty very strong here if the quarterback plays, because they've been playing like shit the last 2 weeks, and they need a big win. They're an independent, but they're not going in the playoff because of that loss they did to Louisiana Monroe. Go figure that out. Okay, nothing new. Let's get on. BYU 2.5 over Virginia. Interesting game. Virginia's defense has disappeared. Their quarterback's good. BYU, the quarterback, wide receiver, brother combination is both injured, listed as questionable. Over under 64. BYU laying 2.5. I had them laying 7, but with these injuries, it's hard to say. For Virginia, now keep in mind, Virginia's coach was BYU's coach, so that'll have some bearing on it, him going back home. I just don't trust Virginia's defense. It's been weak. BYU, they keep playing Arizona State and Utah. Last week, I think didn't they beat West Virginia for Washington State? Let's see, BYU. I think they beat Washington State. Yeah, they beat Washington State 21-17, and Virginia is the same team as Washington State. Good offensive team, not a great defense. So I think Virginia at 8.5 should be a live one here with their offense. But again, BYU's been playing. They beat some good teams, Arizona State, Utah. They have a good defense, so be careful here. Maybe under 64, take that down to 70 might be a good play here too, because if the quarterback's injured and they have a good defense, it's just Virginia's kind of weak defensively. But 64 under 70. I don't see how they get to 70. These two, BYU, nobody has scored big on them. Okay, here's the flavor of the day. Utah, I have -3 against UCLA. The spread's -6.5. The quarterback, Dorian Thompson on UCLA, is listed as probable. So what's that mean? He's playing. It's a big game for UCLA. They have to win it. They lost to Oregon, but Utah's in their division. Oregon's in the north. This is a southern game. Utah's 6.5. UCLA hasn't had problems traveling. They're an over team. Utah is pretty much an over team. They used to have this great defense, but not anymore. Oregon State lit them up, and I loved that game last week. Oregon State, they got the same offense as UCLA. look for UCLA to score a lot. I look for Utah to score a lot. Utah has been scoring a lot, 30, 40 points a game, which is unlike Utah. They got a good quarterback. Here's the kicker. This is like the Miami Pitt game. The over-under is 61. Again, way too low. Go over 55. I love that. I mean, absolutely. I like UCLA in 12.5, but I like over 55 with the two strong offenses, and UCLA's defense is, I mean, I look at it as the Fresno State game, right? It was like 34-31 or something last week. What was the Oregon score? Oregon, 34-31. All right, same team, 65. This should get right around that same score. All we need is 55. That's a joke. So I think it's gone from 60.5 to 61. Definitely take UCLA over in this game. So, Andy, there's another one for you. So we can make this 3-team 10-point teaser into a 16 10-point teaser and not have you worry about UCF trying to win a game with their backup quarterback. Arizona State, Washington State. Arizona State I have as the A team statistically, but they're not playing like an A team. They don't really have that shutdown defense. Washington State's been scoring, although that's what makes the BYU game like they only got 21-17 over under 53. It's hard if Arizona State's an A team. It's hard to go over in the game. Washington State in 22. I have Arizona State -7. This is 16. Seems crazy. I don't see any major injuries to Washington State. Could be line injuries. I don't really care about that. The backup comes in. And then at the end of the game, they just make excuses. Well, they have 2 offensive linemen are out. That's bullshit. That playing offensive line is not like trying to replace Barry Sanders or Joe Montana. Okay, it's a lineman, and they're just really getting in the way of the defense. That's all they're give me 3 seconds and I'll throw the ball. So it's not like a great skill set. Even if you have a great offensive line, it does. All they got to do is blitz, and 5 guys can't hold 6. So I don't care, but I don't see any injuries. So 22 there is a lot of points for Washington State. Oregon State, my team, they're my bitch this year. I have them laying 7 over under 56. The spread's laying 1. Thank you, God. I get Oregon State +5. Oregon State's a strong B team, almost like an A- if I went to half grades. Cal is an under team. They don't score. I'm not a big Chase Garbers fan. They got a good defense, but not in the league. Utah's a much better team. Oregon State has been winning these games. They won at Washington. Now they go to Cal. The only game they lost, surprisingly, was to Washington State because Washington State could light them up passing the ball, but Cal doesn't have that style of offense. I think this game is so underlined. All I got to do is lay 1. I get 5 points. Andy, take Oregon. Jesus Christ. I love them +5. Over under 56. It's hard to play Cal, who's an under team, as an over. Oregon State's definitely an over team. So anytime an over plays an under, but it's pretty equal. Like Oregon State's defense is equal, but their offense is so much better. Then that's what you're looking for to take the over team. So and they're not even an over team; they're a B team. So they got a good defense. Oregon State. Take Oregon State +5. I love that one. So as I'm watching and learning and watching highlights, I got this team from watching Oregon State USC. They lit up USC. Says, what's going on there? And all of a sudden, I see Chase Nolan lighting up this USC, hitting receivers all over the place. I go, oh, this guy's a good quarterback. They can really throw. Then I watch the next week, and they're playing Washington, and I go to the box score in the third quarter, and I don't see any yards. I'm like, what's going on? Then I watch the highlights, and they ran the ball down their throats, and they have this running back, Baylor. So now I'm going, Jesus Christ, they got a great quarterback. They got a great running back. Look out. Their defense is strong. They're well coached, and they're winning the game. So You can trust them. That's how you find an Oregon State. That's how you find Syracuse. You watch and you see how they play and they look very good. That's how I see this Van Dyke from Miami. Watching, I locked NC State last week. I'm getting 3. I'm going, oh, Miami's terrible. They won't win. And this guy's completing passes all over them. What the hell is going on? Where's Miami getting this offense from? And that's when you see it. And you see Van Dyke and against a good team like North Carolina State, and he's lighting them up. And I'm going, Jesus Christ, this kid's good. So that's what you do. That's why I watch. But I can analyze the talent. So I know when it's bullshit and when it's real. And when I see from Oregon State and this Van Dyke kid, it's real. They know what they're doing. They're good quarterbacks. They'll be NFL quarterbacks for sure. So that's what I look for. But I'm smart enough to know what to look for. USC 21 over Arizona. Arizona's the Z team in the Pac-10. They're the Vanderbilt. They're the weakest team. Major problem. They look terrible against Notre Dame. I have them laying 14. They're laying 21, over under 56. Arizona's a Z team. Colorado shut them out. Colorado's got a good defense, but they beat them 34-0. I don't know what to expect from Arizona here. And I really can't trust USC. Too much turmoil, too much changing coaches. Their offense looked like shit against Notre Dame. No offense to Notre Dame. They've got a good team, good defense. They're not great. They got a good team, but Hamilton gets out for Notre Dame. They're All-American safety, and they still couldn't do anything against them. So I don't know. I'm not big fans of USC right now, but Arizona doesn't have the offense to hurt them. So I'm just I don't have a play on the game. Oregon 23.5 over Colorado, over under 49. Colorado, great defense, terrible quarterback. Oregon is an A team. They just beat UCLA. I had them laying 14. They're laying 23.5. I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's way too high. I can't take Oregon here laying 17.5 against this Colorado defense. I think it'll be a close game. I think you go under, over under 49. I think you go under 55. I don't think there'll be a lot of scoring. Colorado certainly won't score a lot, but their defense is very strong, and I think they hold Oregon in the 20s. Colorado won't score, they'll be in the 10. I think this is a 30, 35-point game. So I think the only play here, is go under 55. Marshall, Florida International. Florida International is terrible. Marshall, I don't know what's wrong with them this year. They changed coaches. They still have Grant Wells, the quarterback. I look at his stats, 5 touchdowns, 5 picks. I'm like, what the hell did you do to this guy? He was a great quarterback last year. So this goes back to Jordan Love at Utah State. 1 year, he's superstar, 40 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. The coach goes to Texas Tech. This new coach comes in, totally fucks him up. He gets like 10 touchdowns and 10 picks. Now he looks like, he's not really that good. It was the coach. And he's stuck. Green Bay wasted a first-round draft pick on the guy. He's not very good. And you get the real good. The Joe Montanas would have been good with any coach. He'd have made sure he's good. So here you got the coach fucking up Marshall. So I can't lay 21. Florida International, weak team, weak defense. They score points. This game will probably go over under 65, but I just don't like Marshall this year like they've been in the past. Okay, here's a game for us. Kansas, I got Oak State laying 28. They're laying 30.5, over under 54.5. Kansas is the Z team. Not much offense. They showed it against the weak Duke team, but Oak State's got the goods. They're a very strong. I took them from an under to a B because the way they played Iowa State and the way they played Texas, they're starting to score. So they're starting to get more points. So an under team like scores 20, gives up 20. They got a really good defense. They don't score. Sanders is back at quarterback for Oak State, and now they're starting to score. And I look at them to kill Kansas off of the loss to Iowa State. They're at home. They have to win the game. They're still possibly in the playoffs. They got to run the table, and they got to beat Oklahoma. and they got to beat Baylor. So they beat Baylor and Oklahoma. They could make the playoff because you got Cincinnati not looking as strong, and Ohio State and Alabama with one loss. Although I can't see the Oak State jumping either of those, but if they take care of Oklahoma and Baylor, they might have some consideration. But it's a must-win for them off of a loss against, here comes Kansas, to get everybody well. So when you play that Z team, look out. Oak State will kill them, probably shut them out. It's not going to – look what Oklahoma did. They didn't take them serious. Down 10-0. How does Oklahoma get shut out in the first half of a game against Kansas, right? Because the new quarterbacks, the freshmen, never really quartered before, gets nervous, those turnovers. Here, Oak State now saw that. So now Oak State's saying, well, no, wait. We're not going to take Kansas lightly. They shut out Oklahoma. It's the best thing that could have happened to Oak State. They'll be on fire. They're going to go after them and just pile the points on because they're afraid of what happened with Oklahoma last week. So definitely like Oak State in a 50-point win here. Louisiana Lafayette, Levi Lewis, I love them. I had a -14, -21 to Texas State. Who's Texas State? They're a W team. They don't score much. They have a terrible defense. They give up 35, 40 points a game. Louisiana Lafayette, they got beat by Texas, and then they blew out somebody a couple weeks ago. They're starting to play. They blew out App State. That's who they blew out. So now they're rolling, and they get a kind of a weak Texas State team. I'm not worried about their offense. Their defense is a sieve. Louisiana Lafayette should definitely get in the 50s in this game. I don't think Texas Tech can keep up. The spread's 21. You lay 15. I think that's probably I wouldn't go over 17. Let's just say that. The lines move from 20 to 21. You can take Louisiana Lafayette, lay the 15 there, I think. Here's another OZ game. Middle Tennessee State against Southern Miss. Southern Miss is the Z team. They've got their two starting quarterbacks have been injured. They can't score. Their defense is terrible. Well, they probably give up about 28, 29. I don't have them marked as a weak D because I haven't given up 30, but they're a Z team, so they're probably like score 15, give up 29, somewhere in the upper 20s. Middle Tennessee State is a over team. They score a lot of points. Again, their defense is not great, but against the Z team like Southern Miss, look for Middle Tennessee State to score 50 points in this game. Let's see what they did last week. Middle Tennessee State. Let's see if I can find them. They're not exactly the type of team that sticks out in a sheet with 50 games. I thought they played last week. Excuse me while I find them. Here they go. They beat Connecticut, another Z team, 44-13. So that's the example, right? 44-13. They were laying 15 there. And now you've got them laying 13 against another Z team. And this time they're at home. The question is, if Southern Miss and Connecticut played, they both suck. So it should be, they won by 30 some against a terrible Connecticut team. And here's Southern Miss is no better. So yeah, Middle Tennessee State should again have that 50-point game. We talked about Purdue, Nebraska. The only way you can play this game is Purdue in 13.5, I think. But I don't like it. Which Nebraska team shows up? I do like Martinez. Like I said, I like Crouch, good coach. Don't love their defense has been strong. Nebraska, Purdue beat Iowa at Iowa with that defense. Probably the play here is under 52, under 58. I think is the play. Purdue does have a good defense. They held Iowa to 7 at home. Last week, Wisconsin scored on them, but Nebraska, they should keep Nebraska in check. They don't have a running attack. That's Nebraska's problem. So you got Martinez. So you spy Martinez, and then there's nobody. you don't have that other micro zero to get scared of. And they, a couple of decent receivers, but no Jerry Rice. So, it's spy Martinez and then watch him kick field goals. So I think under 58, let me mark that down for myself. I think that's a good play there. Missouri Vanderbilt, same thing as the others. You got an O against the Z. Vanderbilt's terrible. Vanderbilt is the Kansas of the SEC. Missouri is the over team. They score a lot of points. Their defense sucks. I had -14. You're only laying 16 against the Z team with the offense that's very strong. Even though their defense is weak, I don't see how Vandy can keep up with it. You laid basically 10 freaking points. I don't see the quarterback being injured for Missouri. Over under is 64, so they're expecting Missouri to score a lot, and I do too. They're an over team. They will score in the 40s. I don't think Vandy can keep up. And what's nice is the spread. It's not like an Alabama game where they're laying 35 points and the second team's out there with a 40-point lead and you're sweating. Here, you're laying 10 with Missouri. They're not going to go to their second team. They want to win. So this is really, again, we're betting against the Z team who's not going to score and can't stop them. Kentucky and Old Mississippi State. Kentucky's a very good team. They beat Florida. They beat LSU. Nobody beats Georgia, although they did score on Georgia. Give them credit for that. Against Mississippi State, I have them as an even team. So they score 24. They give up 24, somewhere around there. Kentucky's got a really strong defense. I had this line, Kentucky -10. Over under is 47. Probably will be an under game, but the line is -1. Can somebody explain what the hell's going on in Vegas? Kentucky -1. You've got to be fucking kidding me. Kentucky's at least a touchdown better than Mississippi State. The game's at Mississippi State, okay, big deal. Again, they went to Georgia. You see Georgia's defense, right? And once you see Georgia's defense, everybody else looks like a piece of cake. Looks like a high school team. Mississippi State, the Mike Leach, they're going to throw the ball. Kentucky can more than handle that, but they're not going to stop Kentucky. Kentucky +5 is a joke in this game. You got the better team. You got the touchdown favorite team only laying 1, getting 5. You just got to verify that there's no serious injuries on Kentucky, and then it's just take Kentucky and get 5 points. Oh, my God. Oklahoma 19.5 over Texas Tech. Texas Tech, terrible defense. Not really explosive. Oklahoma, they got the new kid who wants to run, and he thinks he's Kyler Murray. I had them -17. They're -19.5, -20. Over under 67. Again, a weak defense with Texas Tech. Normally, this would be an overplay if you had normal Oklahoma, which you don't. You have an Oklahoma team that got shut out by Kansas in the first half. How do you take them seriously? The new quarterback, Texas Tech, I don't know. Texas Tech's pretty bad team. Hard to go over, although Oklahoma, what was this Kansas score last week? 35-23. They played Kansas to a 58. They scored 35 on a terrible defense. Yeah, I think Texas Tech and 25.5 is probably a decent play. I'm not playing it, just talking about the game. That's my take on it would be maybe take the 25.5. Getting over, they couldn't get over with Kansas. I mean, I can't trust Oklahoma over. Any team that gets shut out by Kansas for a half, I can't bet an over on. Again, if Radler was there, maybe, but with this new guy, you don't know what you're getting. The slice of the day. Penn State A-team, Ohio State A-team. Sean Clifford is not even listed. He's not even on the injury list. I have Ohio State -10. I'm selfish. I wanted it to be 10. It's 18. Whew. Over under a 60.5. Penn State with a good defensive team. Ohio State, strong defense, 18.5. Ohio State's been crushing everybody since the Oregon game. What the hell do you do with this game? I mean, I love Ohio State at home, but man, oh man, 18 and a half, cut it to 12 and a half. And you're still like searching against, this is Penn fucking State. This isn't Indiana, right? Where they're going to just score every time they get the ball. So this one has me a little bit like, I just don't like, maybe an over 54 could be a better play than laying 12 and a half. Penn State, see, the difference is Penn State plays Ohio State every year. They've seen them. They know what to expect. They know the speed. They know the coaching. They know, okay, there's a new quarterback, but he's not as good as Fields at Ohio State. Not Fields at Chicago, Fields at Ohio State. The Ohio State's just the running backs are good. The Olavi's a great receiver, good, strong line. The defense, let's see, what was the score of this Indiana game? 54-7. So it's a 61. So now Indy had Tuttle, who got hurt in the game, who was supposedly a very good quarterback. How many points can Penn State score determines what you do in this game. Ohio State gets in the 30s probably. I mean, Penn State's got a good defense. I don't know how tough they're going to be against Ohio State here. This is a very, very difficult analysis. Do I like Penn State in 24 and a half? I don't want to fuck with Ohio State. Alabama goes 18 over Georgia. I'm going to, mortgage the house and the car, and I'll take Georgia in 24. It's a different animal here. Penn State, I don't know. Clifford, they walked into Wisconsin and won. Very good. I think they walked into Iowa and had Iowa until Clifford gets hurt. So they can score. Ohio State loses to Oregon. They beat Indiana. They haven't played Michigan State yet. Has Ohio? They beat Indiana. They beat Maryland. So they've been scoring a lot of points on teams that are pretty weak defensively. Clifford seems to be healthy, and they put up points on a real good Iowa defense. That's just as good as Ohio State's, I think. The more I think of that, the more I like. The more I'd like the over, I think. I think Ohio State can score in the 30s. I think Penn State with Clifford, I think they play their best game of the year. I think they can score. Let's say they score 20. Ohio State gets in the 30s is 50. Over under a 60, you need 54 and a half. Well, it's going to be close to the 54 and a half. It should be in the 50s. Should be a 30-20 type of game with Clifford. I can see Penn State in 24 and a half being a good play here. I'm scared of taking Ohio State minus 12 and a half against a team like Penn State. You don't fuck with an A team, right? Against Indiana, they had no real good defense. Against Maryland, they had no defense. I knew Ohio State was going to go up and down the field and just keep scoring, and then the other team has to pass. So Ohio State blitzes, sacks the quarterback, gets interceptions. That's the beauty of playing a team with no defense, but that's not what you have here with Penn State. You have a very strong defensive team. Now, I know Ohio State normally wins this game at home, and Penn State normally wins the game at Penn State. You got to take Penn State in 24 and a half here. This is a game I'm trying to get a feel for, right? I got a feel for the Kentucky game. I got a feel for the Clemson. I got a feel for the UCLA, the Oregon State. Like, that's a feel game. Oregon State, I know, is the better team. I got a feel for that. I can't get a feel for this game. I'm a little afraid of taking 24 and a half because of Ohio State. I'm certainly afraid of Ohio State only laying 12 and a half against a good Penn State team who's going to come in sky high. Yeah, they lost to Purdue 20. No, that was Iowa. They lost to Illinois 2018, so they didn't score. Clifford was injured, but I think he played. I looked at the box score, but then you're wondering how they're only getting 18 points on Illinois. And if you think Illinois' got a defense, Ohio State's is better. So now I don't know what to do. I don't want to go against Ohio State. I can't go over. I don't know. It's a game I have to think about, but I don't really have a gut on this one. Houston won over SMU, over under 62. They're both A teams. If I can get, I had Houston -3. If I can get 2 or more and kick it up, SMU up to over a touchdown, I like SMU because they can score, and I like them to keep the game close, if not win it. Over under 62. Houston's not really scoring this year like normal. SMU is. So we'll see what Houston's about. But right now, I think SMU, and if you can get more than 7, is the play here. Texas Baylor, my Baylor team. I got Baylor laying 7. Baylor's only laying 2.5 or 3. Over under 62 went down to 61. Texas is an over team, no defense. They actually have a weak defense. This means they give up over 30 a game. Baylor is an A, so they're very strong. I love, like I said, they run and pass for 310 yards a game. It's very, very balanced. Great running back, Bohannon, outstanding quarterback. He's got like 12 touchdowns and no interceptions. It might even be like 15-0. They're only laying 3. I like Baylor and plus the 3 points here. Baylor getting points at home against a weak defensive team. They're going to run up and down the field on Texas. This will not be a pretty game. Take Baylor and the points. Georgia, Florida. My spread, Georgia -10. Their spread, Georgia -14. Over under 51. I get a Georgia game that's in the -57. Florida is not better than Arkansas or Kentucky, who Georgia shut out Arkansas and handled Kentucky. They'll win the game the same as they've been doing. They'll get into the 30s. They'll give up in the 10s. It'll be a 40-point game. We get to go under 57. I love that game. When you get a team like Georgia giving up 6 freaking points a game, and you played Arkansas, and you played Kentucky, and you played Clemson. Now we know Clemson sucks, but we didn't know it at the time. That's what you just pound the under on them, just like Clemson. The difference is Clemson has no quarterback. So Clemson's great defense, no offense. So you're betting Clemson under. Here, Georgia's got a good – I love Georgia's offense, but they just pound the ball at you. And their defense, you're not getting more than 10 points from the opposing team. If you're getting that. Florida went to Kentucky, and let's say they don't return the kick. Florida's going to, they're up 10-7 or something, and they go up 13-7 in the third quarter, and Kentucky blocks the kick and runs it back. And they win 20-10. So let's take away the field goal. Okay, that got blocked but didn't get returned. It's a 13-10 game with Kentucky. They scored 10 points on that defense. They're not going to score 10 points on this defense because this defense and Kentucky's defense, as good as Kentucky's is not in the same league. Florida will not score in this game, maybe a 7. Georgia gets in their upper 20s because Florida's defense is okay, not as good as Kentucky's, but it's a good defense. You got to go under 57. Andy, go under 57. I got another game for you. Take this under 57 all day. Georgia, anything. I loved it at 45. Just getting under 51. Anything under 50 here, 51, I get another touchdown, 57. Oh, there's no way. I love to meet whoever's making these lines in Vegas and just laugh at them. Cincinnati, lane 24 to Tulane. My spread's 21. Over under a 60.5. Tulane, weak defense. This is the team that went to Oklahoma 40-35 them. So you thought, oh, they got a good team. Then you realize Oklahoma's defense isn't anything. And Tulane has not really repeated that. So they caught them a little by surprise, maybe some turnovers. Rattler probably threw a few interceptions that got into points. Okay, Cincinnati we had last week, and they beat Navy 27-20. Navy's a good – what do I got Navy at? Navy I got is a W. So they do have a weak defense, but Navy ran the ball down their throats and ball controlled them. So Cincinnati didn't get their normal touches. They couldn't put blitzes on them. They couldn't really get interceptions and sacks against a Navy team that wants to just run option ball. So because of that, half of their game went out the window. You saw them against Notre Dame, pressuring, interceptions. Against Tulane, they get to do that again. Tulane's an over team. They like to pass the ball. Cincinnati's defense will be all over them, pressuring them. Cincinnati gets an over team. They get a team with no defense in Tulane. And look for Cincinnati. They know they got away with one. Okay, you can lose to beat Navy by 7. You're still in the number 2. They beat Tulane by 7. They're going to be number 7 or 8. They're going to be out of the top 10. Alabama, Ohio State will both pass them, especially if Ohio State beats Penn State. Cincinnati's in big trouble. Cincinnati needs to win this game by 30 points. You're laying 24, a little bit big. I think you cut it down to 18. I think you're okay. I don't love it, but I do love that Cincinnati should be looking to blow out this team for the bowl, for the playoff. Now let's take a real quick look at Tulane's offense, just so I can verify what I just said. So when I look at it, okay, so Cincinnati scores 41, gives up 14. They're definitely an over offense. They get 420 yards. They're very balanced. I like Ford, their running back, Ritter, their quarterback. Very, very strong. We know all that. So let's look at Tulane, who we don't know as well. They score 31. They give up 42 points a game. Michael Pratt, they throw for 250 a game, run for 148, 403. So they're a little more balanced than I thought. But look at that. They give up 42 fucking points a game. Now let's try to look at Michael Pratt. We know how good Ritter is. Just a second when I get to Pratt. So here's why I like looking at the quarterback. So you can see they can run the ball, although I don't have anything. I don't have a running back listed. For Cincinnati, I got Ritter. I list Ford. And the reason I list Ford is I know he runs for 100 yards a game or so. He's a threat. He's a balance, right? They get 185 rushing a game. But when I go to Tulane, they don't have a running back listed, which means they don't have a good running back who even gets 100 yards a game. So I know they're mostly passing. Or is this Pratt? I try to mark if they're dual quarterbacks, like the guy at South Florida, McLean. I got him as a dual quarterback, which means he runs the ball as well. So I know what I'm getting. So just 1 second while my idiotic Google Chrome machine tries to switch tabs on me. This is a loaded spreadsheet. I keep it for years, and I have a lot of different tabs in it, so it takes a while. Apologize for the delay, but this is money we're talking about here. So let's see. Come on. Well, I'll move on, but I'll get back to it. Next game, Louisiana Monroe against App State. When I look at Louisiana Monroe, they've switched quarterbacks, and I'll get to that in a minute. I can't remember the quarterback's name, but they just blew out. Who did they blow out last week? They blew out South Alabama, South Alabama is a under team, almost a B team. 41-31. So all of a sudden, Louisiana Monroe, who I have as a W, is putting up 40 points on South Alabama. And you go, well, who's South Alabama? Okay, so let's go back a week earlier. And Louisiana Monroe beats Liberty 31-28. Now, Liberty, we know, is an A team. So all of a sudden, Louisiana Monroe puts up 31, puts up 41. They put up, and Liberty's a good team. Liberty, we know, is an A team. South Alabama this week I have as a B team. They're playing Arkansas State. That's actually the next game. So they're playing good teams, putting up big points. Their quarterback looks like a superstar. And so all of a sudden they change quarterbacks and they're scoring. So here, App State had an emotional win over Coastal Carolina, 30-27 last week. So they hold Coastal Carolina's offense to 27. Louisiana Monroe now an over team. They have a weak defense, absolutely, but they have a very strong offense all of a sudden. You start scoring 30, 40 points a game here. App State is an A team, strong offense. They have a backup Clemson quarterback in Bryce. Okay, I got my thing. So let's look at Louisiana Monroe has switched to Chandler Rogers, and he's played limited action. He's 69 for 110, 62%, 137 yards a game, 8 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So that's the key, right? He's lighting it up and only 2. Now he's new, but he has played in 7 games. Rodriguez was their starter, played in 3, got hurt. And he had 1 touchdown, 0. That's why they were a W team. They weren't scoring. Now with this guy, they're scoring. App State's got Chase Bryce, 10 touchdowns, 5 picks. He doesn't scare you. Good defense. Again, Louisiana Monroe with a weak defense. The only way Louisiana Monroe doesn't score in this game is if App State runs the ball down their throat. Let me get to the Tulane game now that my thing came up. Then I'll get right back to this game. Come on. I think my internet's a little slow, which is causing this also. Come on. Okay. So what were we talking? Tulane. So we look at Tulane. Michael Pratt, 59%, 125 of 212, 16 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So he's not bad from that standpoint. But let's look at Cincinnati. Ritter has 15 touchdowns and 3 picks. He throws for 231 a game. So you can see the difference. So while Pratt's not bad, 16 and 5, so he'll get a few touchdowns. I'm not arguing that. Tulane is an over team, but with this defense, Cincinnati's definitely like them laying 18. I think they just blow out the weak defense, and they can run with Ford. So even if the game's kind of close, Ford can break it open like he did in the other game. So now back to the Louisiana Monroe App State game. Sunbelt. Okay, so Louisiana Monroe has now scored 21 and given up 34, but they've won from like 17 points a game. Like the last 2 games have been in the 30s. So now they're like a 32-34 game. And they held Liberty, 31-28. So they beat Liberty. And then 31 points to South Alabama, who scores 29. Okay, that makes sense. Now I'm looking. Now Chandler Rogers is a dual quarterback, so this guy's going to take off and run a little bit, but he seems to be a good passing quarterback also. So this is why I make the note. He's a dual threat. So he's scoring a lot. Now, here's an example where I keep my notes. So if I look at the stats for the year, they only pass for 194. They run for 108, 301. What did they do last week against South Alabama, whose defense is 22 a game? They got a really strong defense. They put up 600 yards on South Alabama last week with this guy. 600 yards, 41 points. The light goes off. Wait a minute. Vegas is looking at a team that averages 300 yards a game and gives up 34 and scores 21, but that's not who they are now. Now they're scoring, let's say, 500 yards a game. That's a whole lot different than 300 yards. App State scores 31, gives up 24, so they're not super defense. And they get 456 yards. So they pass for 270, run for 180. So it's not like a Navy where they're going to put up 400 yards of offense and they're going to run the clock. That's not what App State does. They do throw the ball, as you can see, 272, 184. So that makes this game a very good overplay. But when the spread I have is App State 10.5, but again, I'm cheating. I'm looking at Louisiana Monroe the last 2 weeks, noticing box scores, noticing the change in quarterback. Going, wait a minute, they got this Rogers guy who's lighting it up, just like Miami, right? When you see that quarterback change, Vegas is not. They're looking. Vegas doesn't have time to look at that. They're looking at, Louisiana Monroe gets 300 yards a game. But that's not who they are now with this Rogers. They get 600 yards a game. So this is your master lesson today is Van Dyke on Miami and this Rogers guy at Louisiana Monroe. So yeah, their defense gives up 34, but we don't care. We like this. They're gonna just score. And App State now in a 10-point, my spread's 10 because I'm cheating because I know what's happening with Louisiana Monroe. Vegas's line is 27.5. Can you fucking believe 27.5? Over under of 57.5. I don't know what to lock first. The 33.5 in Louisiana Monroe, the team that beat Liberty and a good South Alabama team, or go over 51.5 against a team. So Louisiana doesn't have a good defense, so they're going to give up a lot. This will be a high-scoring game. App State will score, and their defense is okay. They give up 24. They're almost a B team, not an A team, because they only score 31. But against Louisiana Monroe, they will score. South Alabama, for example, only scores 29. South Alabama scores 29, gives up 22. App State scores 31, gives up 24. So South Alabama is actually a better stat team, and yet it was a 41-31 game against Louisiana Monroe. And let's look at Liberty. Liberty scores 34 and gives up 17, and they beat them 31-28. So they put up 31. They get a 59 against Liberty, who's a real A team who gives up 17, who gets 426 yards a game, and they beat them 31-28. So that's a 59 against Liberty. Here it's 57. You go to 51. And here you get 33 points. Liberty didn't even get 33 on them, and neither did South Alabama. And App State is not Coastal Carolina, who scores 45 a game, or Nevada, who gets 35, or Fresno State gets 30. So App State, to win this game by 33, there's no way. Not with this new – I mean, hopefully this kid stays healthy. This Rogers has a good game. I can see Louisiana Monroe winning the game straight out because I can see App State being flat after beating Coastal Carolina last Thursday. So they're out of rhythm. They play a Thursday game. Now they're back to Saturday, laying 27.5 against the team on fire, and they're getting 33.5. This is like a double lock. Like Louisiana Monroe on 33.5 is you bet the house. And then you add Carr on over 51 with the team that's scoring, 40 points a game. So you see, this is where you watch. This is why I watch the box scores and the scores. They beat fucking Liberty, right? Liberty's an A team. Liberty's very, very strong. They almost beat Syracuse. They played Syracuse to let's look at that score, right? That'll really get you Liberty Syracuse, I think was back here. Must be here. Liberty, Syracuse. I almost bet them against Syracuse, but I knew Syracuse was getting better. Liberty beat North Texas 35-26. Where's the Syracuse game? Must be week 6, maybe week 5. Must be week 5. Liberty, Syracuse. No, Liberty beats UAP. I thought they played Syracuse. Let's go. Yeah, here it is. Liberty plays Syracuse in week 4. Syracuse wins 24-21. I got Syracuse as a B. Liberty as an A. They play them 24-21. Syracuse plays Clemson tough, beats Virginia Tech. Syracuse is a real team. They only got 24 on them. Louisiana Monroe puts up 31 on them. Louisiana Monroe. right? A Z team. So Liberty's a serious team, almost beating Syracuse at Syracuse. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Louisiana Monroe is way off spread here. 27.5. You don't even need the teaser. 33.5 is just a joke. Louisiana Monroe puts up 30 in the game very easily. App State will put up mid-30. Let's go 42-38 in this game. That's my score, 42-38, because App State's going to freak out when they need points, and Louisiana Monroe is just going to walk up and down the field. Both the over-under and the spread are 20 points off here. App State should be a 10-point favorite, over-under 65. You got 57-51. I don't know which one to lock. I might lock them both, but this is a joke. These lines are way, way off. This is why I'm the professor. Right here, this reason, that's why I get the big money. That's why I make money betting, and that's why I do the service. Who else is going to spot this? Obviously, Vegas hasn't spotted this. I mean, they're only in 27.5 with the team that there's no way they'll win this game by 14. And then 57. Where are they getting 57 from? With Louisiana Monroe thinking they're still at 21. See, they're not watching the last 2 weeks, and especially them, okay, South Alabama, but they beat Liberty. They beat freaking Liberty. Louisiana Monroe, I'm not going to say they can win. They can win the game that they're going to, but like I said, 42, 45, 38, somewhere in that. It's an 80-point game, and the over-under is going to be 51.5 in a teaser. All I can say is thank you, God. What else? I mean, it's hard to follow that act. Western Kentucky, Charlotte, 73 over-under. They got to be kidding me. Charlotte's an even team. I like Reynolds, their quarterback. Western Kentucky is the Zadie, something like that, Zobe quarterback who's lighting it up, and it's that style of offense, but I'm not going to do 73. Western Kentucky's laying 17. I think it's a bit much. They're an over team, so their defense is weak. It's hard to do that. Notre Dame, North Carolina. For my Notre Dame fans, Notre Dame laying 3.5. I had Notre Dame as a 10-point favorite. Their quarterback's okay. It's hard to get excited with the Wisconsin quarterback. Over under 62. North Carolina is an over team. Let's look at the number there. North Carolina this year. Where are they? They scored 36, give up 29. Howell has been a major disappointment. They do have a running back, Chandler. They throw for 270, run for 200. So they're pretty balanced. They should score a little bit on this. Notre Dame I have as a B team, so their defense is okay. Let's see, Notre Dame. So they're scoring 31, giving up 23. So they don't really score a lot. No running, 260 throwing, 100 yards running. So they're really not scoring a lot. North Carolina is an over team. My line was Notre Dame -10, -3.5. North Carolina has been, I got a feeling North Carolina, this will be their playoff game here against Notre Dame at Notre Dame, probably at night. I don't know. It's a tough game. I don't see how they get over. The spread's too low to really take North Carolina 9.5. I don't know. I think Notre Dame probably gets the win just because it's at home, and that's what they've been doing. North Carolina's a little bit better than USC, but not a lot better. So, again, it's probably a Notre Dame game, but hard to get too excited about them. Howell will probably have a big game because it's on TV, and he's sucked this year. And the last game I'm going to give is San Diego State, Fresno State, the Saturday night late game, the 10 o'clock game, I think. My spread, San Diego State -3, over under 45.5. The real spread, San Diego State -1. This is A versus A. This is for the conference title. Fresno State beat a very good Nevada team last week. I think they're a live dog in this. I'm hoping to get more than a touchdown. Now the spread's 1. I get 7. I'm waiting for a 2, hopefully. And I like Fresno State getting 7.5, 8 points. Love their quarterback, Hayner. Good coach, good Rivers, good running back, good defense. San Diego State's got a good defense, and they run. They don't really have a good quarterback, and they just play underball. Let's see, what is their so Fresno State scores 35, gives up only 20. Live dog, Hayner, Rivers, and Mims running back. They get 480 yards a game, 340 passing, and they beat UCLA. San Diego State scores 31, gives up 15. Brookshire and Bellwin Johnson. They only pass for 127. They run for 205. Nevada doesn't run at all. They only run for 80. So it's going to be a running game by San Diego State. So Fresno State can jump on the lead. Now, you can't tell me San Diego State's defense, UCLA gets up 26, but the athletes on a UCLA team, the athletes on a San Diego State team are going to be much different. They're not – San Diego State's not playing Oregon and Oregon State and Washington State and these high-scoring teams. So, therefore, you can't really look at the numbers and say, well, they're 15. They're so much better than UCLA's 26. But what you can say is that Fresno State went to UCLA and won the game. And there's no way San Diego State, they got to really jump on them and then run it down their throats. But I like Hayner. Even if they're down, he's going to come back. I don't see how San Diego State beats them by more than a field goal if they even win. I could easily see them win. San Diego State last week played Air Force and won 20-14. Now, Air Force, that was an A versus A. And again, you tease the dog, you win. Air Force lane 3. So they were a road dog, which is different. And Air Force doesn't really have the passing attack of a Hayner of Fresno State. And they only won that game by 6. Now, it was low scoring. This game, I anticipate over under 44.5. I'd say probably under 50.5. It's a little bit low. I'd rather be under 52, 53. But my focus is on teasing the dog, if I can get 8. There's no way San Diego State can beat Fresno State with this quarterback and this team. And it's for the title. And, this is a different team than Air Force, who primarily is going to run the option, and then they have a little bit of passing to it. Okay, back to the question. Sorry, guys. When I'm in there, I'm looking at my spreadsheet. I'm not seeing the screen. Todd, Middle Tennessee -7 at home over Southern Miss. And you're saying my lock. Does that mean you think that's my lock, or is that your lock? Or you want me to give you your lock? I talked about Middle Tennessee State. Yeah, I think they blow up Southern Miss. Again, it's a Z team with no quarterback. Middle Tennessee scored 45 on Connecticut, and I'm expecting 45 here. So, it makes sense as a strong play because they're playing a Z team in Southern Miss, who really doesn't do much and they don't have a weak D. Let's see what their numbers were. Southern Miss. Come on. I apologize when I get into here. Southern Miss. So Southern Miss scores 14 a game, gives up 28. They're kind of a Z. Rice is more of a Z. Scores 18, gives up 37. That's my idea of a Z. Giving up 28. They've switched quarterbacks to Lang, but see, here's where their offense. They get 258 yards a game, 166. So they just don't score, and they're not going to. Middle Tennessee State should light them up. what happened last week. If Southern Miss played, let me see if I can find their score. Southern Miss. I'm looking. I know they're a pretty bad team. I don't see them playing last week. So I will go back to the week prior, where they played like a Division II team. I don't put those games on my charts. I only put the games that they're going to have a spread on. Southern Miss. Let's see. Bear with me while I'm trying to find Southern Miss. Here. Okay, they played UAB, who's an under team, and lost 34-0. So they're at home against UAB, and UAB scores 25, gives up 20. They're an under team. They get 375 yards a game. Where Middle Tennessee scores 30, gives up 30. Chase Cunningham's the new quarterback, and they get 350. See, so here they switch to a new quarterback, Cunningham, and he's starting to light it up. And the same question, why didn't you go with Cunningham? And why are you bringing in a new guy and he lights it up? Like, why did you wait 6 games to do that? Maybe the guy was injured. Maybe it took him a while to learn the playbook. Who knows? I've never heard of him, so maybe he could be a freshman or I don't know, a transfer or something. But yeah, in this case, Middle Tennessee State with who's their quarterback? Yeah, Cunningham. Yeah, absolutely. He's pretty good. 250 passing, 100, 350. But they're only got to lay. Yeah, you're laying 7.5. Yeah, I mean, I don't, I'm not going to lock it, but I do. I will probably play it. I do like Middle Tennessee State here because they're playing such a shitty team that has no defense. Well, it's not terrible. They give up like 29 a game. It's not like these 35 and 40s, but yeah, I mean, and again, the spread plays into it. They only got to win by 7.5 points. That's huge because they can certainly get there, right? They can even struggle a little bit, but they're going to turn it on, and Southern Miss is not going to come back. So what happens a lot of times, your team gets up 30 points, they bring in the second team, a couple of late touchdowns, and they win by 17, which is still comfortable for the coach. But the spread was 20, by the way, and you lost. We're here, all you got to do is win by a touchdown. It's not going to get to that. So Middle Tennessee State might be up 35, put in their second and third teamers, put in the backup quarterback. But if it gets anywhere near 20, he's putting the quarterback back in, or the defense will go back in. So unless you got some really weird, punt returns and block punts and things like that, you're gonna, they should be up a good 30 points in the game because they're starting to score. So anyway, I think that covers college. Looks like I found at least 3-4 locks in this in our adventure today. It helps to talk it out. Like when I look at it, when I study it, I get a lot more out of going over the games with you guys than I do just looking at it. I get a better feel because I have to explain it to you. In other words, what I tell you guys is you're making a bet, and I go, why are you making the bet? Well, I could tell you why I'm betting Fresno State because I think it's A against A. They won at UCLA. They just beat Nevada. They're getting points from a good running San Diego State team with good defense, but not really a strong offense. So I'm looking at that going, well, that's what you got. And that's why I like Fresno State. That's why I like Louisiana Monroe. That's why I like the under in the Georgia game. That's why I like Kentucky or SMU or, but then when I tried to explain Ohio State, Penn State, I couldn't come up with a reason to really like the game one way or the other. I think the spread's too high to take Ohio State against what's going to be a very fired up Penn State team who played Iowa. They had a 17-3 lead before Clifford goes out. He's playing in the game as far as I can see. Unless he's broke his leg, he's playing. And then the question is, the big difference is Ohio State's offense versus Iowa's offense. But the fact they scored 17 on Iowa shows me they'll score on Ohio State. Ohio State's not going to shut them out, which leads me to maybe going over 54 because Ohio State should be good for 30 points. But then the Illinois game has me confused with the Penn State. So I'm getting confusion on that game, but I'm telling you that. So it keeps me away from actually betting it. If I can't come up with a reason to bet it, I can't bet it. I can't just bet it because, Ohio State's at home. They're going to win because they have to win. And it doesn't work like that. Penn State's got a good team. They got a good defense. Clifford's a very good quarterback. I think they can keep in the game with them. Again, what am I looking for in a lot of these bets is I want to go against the weak defense. I want to go up against the defense that gives up 40 points a game. That's really what I want to do. I want to take I want to take Cincinnati, who has a really good offense, goes up against a Tulane team that has a weak defense. Because I know the defense isn't going to hold Cincinnati. The only prerequisite in college is when they do face a Navy's going to run it down their throat and ball control it. And the whole third quarter is Navy on one drive for 16 plays, eating up 13 minutes of clock, and Cincinnati doesn't get the ball. And they can't really blitz them, and they can't do a pick because Navy's not going to throw the ball. So you have all that back in action, which is Cincinnati's strengths, their pass rush, as you saw in the Notre Dame game. So that's the only thing to be leery of in college or even in the pros are these teams that just want to run it. I don't know too many pro teams that just want to run the ball, maybe Tennessee, but they don't. They seem to throw it anyway, but they're the ones who could to go on a 16 play, give the ball to Henry 12 times in a row and get a touchdown and eat 10 minutes off the clock. Maybe Seattle's starting to do that with Russell Wilson injured. But that's what makes games go under is one team ball controlling, long drives, taking a lot of the time off the clock. They're not going to have pick sixes, strip sacks for touchdowns. They're probably not punting too often. Or if it is, it's a short punt or something that the punter can easily get off. So it's not going to be an 80-yard punt return. So the quick scores. So that's about it. I will post, I don't know how many locks. What do I got? Do I got any locks in the pros? Probably one, maybe two, three. Yeah, there's a couple possibilities. Today's Wednesday. I'll talk pros tomorrow. Again, in the Green Bay game, a lot of injuries to the wide receivers with COVID. I thought they were done with this COVID crap. Now that, Adams is out with the COVID, like, seriously, he'll be back next week. I mean, it's not like they're even got it. It's not like they're sick. I could understand if the guy, but I'll tell you, it's like the Michael Jordan. He played with the flu in the championship game and in the finals, and he lights it up for 40 points. So it's not like these guys aren't going to play sick. They play with broken bones. So I don't get this COVID bullshit and everything else that, I'm not seeing any professional athletes getting sick from COVID. That's why I make the comment. Yeah, some 70-year-old guy with diabetes. Yeah, that's different. Here, these guys are professional athletes. They're not getting sick from COVID. It's more the older people who are already high blood pressure, diabetes, things like that. And by the way, the way to beat diabetes is to intermittent fasting. I've lost 60 pounds doing it. My blood pressure was 180. It's now back to 120, and I did incremental fasting, which means I eat it. My last meal is at 6 o'clock. I don't eat till noon, and I don't eat carbs and I eat steaks and fish and chicken and just a lot of fruit and veggies. And Like I said, I lost 60 pounds without even trying. I didn't really focus on dieting. I didn't weigh myself. All I noticed is my clothes I could get into my smaller clothes. So I went from 44 waist to 36 waist. So if you watch my older videos, I'm all fat. Now I'm actually pretty thin, and I'm enjoying that very much. But anyway, so if you know anybody that's old and they got diabetes and you see a big gut, get them on intermittent fasting. There's some doctors on YouTube that will explain it better than and I'm not really qualified, but only because I've done it am I making a comment. But if you know people that you care about or love and you see that they're heavy, get them on intermittent fasting and get them away from carbs and sugar, and they'll get very healthy and they'll get much thinner and they'll feel better and more energy, and everything's great. Better concentration. I'm not as tired. Everything that drags you down. So anyway, that's my thought for the day to help people. Well, anyway, that's college. Go to the site, www.teaserking.com. One of my customers is new. He says, can you advise how to make my bets? He gives me his bankroll. He says, and I said, I'll bet it the way if it was my action, and I'll give the guy the bet. So I'll say, take this, take the lock. And, now with the small bankroll, he can only play maybe 5 or 10% of it on a bet. I'll just give him my top 2 teasers. And with $500, it's maybe a $20 play. So if you got 5,000, you're going to play a couple hundred. But with 500, you you don't let one play beat you, and so you got to bet $15, $20. But the logic is to build the bankroll. So what we're working on, and he just started, is to get the bankroll from 500 to 1,000. Then he moves the bets from maybe 20, 25 to 35, 40. Then get the bankroll to 2,000. Then you're betting 100 a game. That's how I did it when I was younger. I'd have like $1,000 bankroll. And this is in the 70s. I'd have like $1,000 bankroll. And, but I'd go crazy. I'd bet 10, 12 teasers, probably $50 a teaser. And then before I knew it, my bankroll was up to 2,000, 3,000. I'm up to 500 a game. And then finally, I got up to like a $2,000 teaser. But that's how you did. I didn't start at 2,000. I started at 50, 75, and then worked it up to a couple hundred. When I'd see my Louisiana Monroe, that would be the $300 teaser. So it's getting that feel makes the bet go up, because I know this is I know Louisiana Monroe in 20 and 33 is absolutely a lock. That I know. That I would absolutely I have no doubt in my mind that that's a lock, and the over 51 is a lock. I have no doubt in my mind. I absolutely feel that if I was at Caesars and I was doing a 10-team teaser, that would be on and I did a 7-team teaser and a 2-team and a 3-team, all my different teasers. That would be on every teaser card I did, would be Louisiana Monroe and the over in the game. Those would be, 5, 6, 7-team teasers. It would be on all the teaser tickets. And that's what you're looking for. When you can do that, when you can find that game that I'm putting them in all my teasers, that's what you're looking for. That's what you bet heavy on, is that game. But you gotta, because I've been doing it long enough, I can get the feel. You guys can't. You're not sure what to look for. You look at the last game, not necessarily, I'm not meaning you, but the public, they'll look at last week, is as far back as they go, and they see some team, winning 40-0, and they're all over, like Baltimore beating San Diego, and then they play Cincinnati. It's a whole different chess game. Now it's the matchup. Now, nobody saw Cincinnati blowing them out, but I didn't think Baltimore would have an easy time against Cincy. I thought it'd be very close. But that's what you're looking for. So you're looking at that. But that's what you're trying to do, is get that feel. I'm going to make $1,000 bet, pick the team, and you got to feel strong that that's the team you want to put the bet on. And a lot of times I'll be at the cage making the bet, and I'll get a feel like No. I don't like that one. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to stay away from New Orleans. I'm going to bet Green Bay. And you just get that feel like, oh, no, that could lose. I'm not going to play. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to lose, but once you get those feelings, then that's what keeps you, then you back away and do that. So I got a lot of impulse as I'm handing the guy the money at the sports book. I get that feel of, wait a minute, no, I don't like this team. Let me take that one. I try to get it all worked out before I get to the window, but every once in a while I do that. And the best is you just take one of these teaser cards and you try to get 10 teams and you slowly cross this one out and that one. And when you finally get the 10 teams after looking at it for an hour, usually you do very well, not necessarily on a 10-team teaser, but yeah, I usually get 7 or 8 of the winners out of the 10, and that's what I usually bet. And there's always that 2 or 3 that I just love, and that ends up being a lock. So that's how the lock comes. It's looking at a Louisiana Monroe going, this spread's fucked up. They're not this shitty team. They changed quarterbacks. They're getting 600 yards a game against a good South Alabama team. Whoa, this spread's way out of whack. Yeah, I like App State. They're a good team. There's no question. I'm not saying they're not, but this spread is so out of whack, both on the over, under, and the 27. Now, again, I hope it's not like the Buffalo, Nebraska, where I'm telling you to take Buffalo, that they're going to win the game straight out. And I don't think Louisiana Monroe wins the game straight out, but they did beat Liberty. They could win it. And the difference is Buffalo hadn't really done anything, right? It was new in the year, and I was going off of last year. That's all I had to go off of. Here I'm going off of Louisiana Monroe, the last 2 games, beating Liberty and South Alabama, 2 good teams, and we know how good Liberty is. So I'm going against what's happening right now with this team, not what happened last year or anything like that. So that's what and the same thing with Miami with Van Dyke. I'm going off of him, how he looked against NC State, and he's new. So I'm playing this year new, last year they were, they were a great under team, and then this year they're not, or teams like that. So that's what I do. But that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to get the feel. And when you get that strong feel, then that's when you bet more. That's your lock. But again, you've got to have the question you've got to ask yourself is, why am I betting the game? And if you can't come up with an answer, like my Penn State, Ohio State, I can't bet the game. Maybe I'll get a feel by Saturday and I'll go, yeah, I think no, Ohio State's going to win, or something happens, but I am not comfortable taking Ohio State minus 12.5 against Penn State, nor am I comfortable with Penn State 24.5. But of the 2, I'm more comfortable with Penn State, nor the way they scored 18 on Illinois am I comfortable going over in this game. So again, Ohio State should win, and they should score, maybe in the 30s, maybe in the 20s. But this is not an Indiana where they have no defense and they're going to run up and down the field. This is not going to happen here. Anyway, I think I covered everything. So good luck. www.teaserking.com. You can ask me questions like you ask here. Andy, I hope I helped you out. But if you want to win, you'll probably get off of UCF and maybe even Dallas after this spiel. And then tomorrow will be pros. I'm going to be busy this weekend. I don't know if I can do my Saturday and Sunday morning. I'll try to, but I can't guarantee it. I'll be driving, and then next weekend it should be normal. All right, or next week will be normal. Just a weekend drive. So anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you learned a lot, and have a nice day. www.teaserking.com. Okay, thank you very much.